In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. Now with the main headlines. Shia Muslims commemorate martyrdom anniversary of Sayyidah Zainab worldwide. More civilian lives lost in conflicts and clashes in African nations. UN chief calls for urgent action to combat terrorism in Africa. Burkina Faso commits apparent war crimes, says HRW. Assalamu alaikum dear viewers, this is Amir Ma'ash and you're watching Shia Waves live from Imam Hussein TV 3. The Syrian capital, Damascus, is witnessing the influx of thousands of Ahlul Bayt followers from all over the world to mark the martyrdom anniversary of Sayyidah Zainab, peace be upon her, tomorrow, Saturday the 15th of the blessed month of Rajab, corresponding to January 27th. The holy shrine of Sayyidah Zainab, peace be upon her, has been covered in black to mark this tragedy that befell Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them. Mourning ceremonies and Husseini processions have begun flocking towards the holy shrine to commemorate her martyrdom and to extend heartfelt condolences to Imam al-Mahdi. May Allah hasten his honourable reappearance. At least 30 people have been killed in renewed violence in Nigeria's Central Plateau state, where clashes between Muslim herders and Christian farming communities have erupted for years. According to community leaders, despite a 24-hour curfew imposed on Tuesday in Plateau's Mangu local district, schools, places of worship and homes have been burned and ransacked in more attacks. Elsewhere, around 20 civilians were killed in an attack in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo on Thursday. The army and M23 rebels said, accusing each other of launching the assault. Conflicts and violence rage across the African continent as it plunges into further economic insecurity and political instability, displacing thousands every day. Now, staying in Africa, the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Wednesday emphasized the urgent need to combat the rising tide of terrorism in Africa, describing the situation as a clear and present danger not only to the continent but to the world. Now this building and our organization represents humanity's highest ideals: peace, dialogue, development, human rights and collaboration. Terrorism represents the polar opposite of these ideals, the Secretary-General stated in an address at the meeting of the Global Counterterrorism Compact at the UN headquarters in New York. The Secretary-General highlighted the alarming increase of terrorist activities in Africa. In just a few short years, Africa has become a global epicenter of terrorism, he noted. Terrorist groups such as Daesh and Al-Qaeda, exploiting local conflicts and weaknesses, are extending their reach across the continent, community by community, the Secretary-General underscored. The top UN official called for urgent, scaled-up action, highlighting positive examples of counter-terrorism efforts, like the multinational task force in the Lake Chad Basin and the Africa Union's initiatives. Let us remind our respected viewers of today's headlines. Shia Muslims commemorate martyrdom anniversary of Sayyidah Zainab worldwide. More civilian lives lost in conflicts and clashes in African nations. UN chief calls for urgent action to combat terrorism in Africa. Also tonight, Amazon rainforest sees worst drought ever. Study implicates global warming. Human Rights Watch said on Thursday that Burkina Faso's security forces last year killed at least 60 civilians in 3 different drone strikes, which the group says may have constituted war crimes. The West African nation's government claimed the strikes targeted extremists, including jihadi fighters and rebel groups that have been operating in many remote communities. The report also said the strikes were in violation of the laws of war and showed little or no concern for civilians. HRW had said last year that it found Burkina Faso's forces were carrying out extrajudicial killings, forced disappearances and torture in conflict-hit communities. The report was based on interviews with at least 23 witnesses and non-government organizations. And now we continue with some short news. We begin in Kuwait, where 3 individuals of Arab origin have been arrested in Kuwait and referred to prosecutors for being part of a terrorist group that attempted to attack Shia Muslims and their places of worship. The arrest followed monitoring of the group's movements and tip-offs of security services, the news agency added. Kuwaiti ministry reported that its security personnel effectively tracked the cell, observed their activities and arrested 3 Tunisian citizens associated with the terrorist organization ISIS. In June 2015, Kuwait experienced its deadliest terrorist attacks in decades, when a Saudi citizen linked to Daesh killed 27 Shia worshippers and injured more than 200 at the Imam Sadiq Mosque. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has warned of the risks of higher inflation, uncertainty of food security, and increased greenhouse gas emissions due to the drop in freight going through the Suez Canal. According to UNCTAD, freight through the canal has fallen by 45% in the 2 months since Yemen's Houthi attacks led shipping groups to divert freight, disrupting already strained maritime trading routes. The agency said 39% fewer ships transited the canal, leading to a 45% decline in freight tonnage. Muslims across India have reported physical and verbal harassment by Hindu mobs celebrating the recent consecration of the Ram Temple in Ayodhya city, which was built on the site where the historic Babri Mosque was demolished by Hindu militants in 1992. Reports indicate that Hindu mobs have attacked Muslim graveyards, neighborhoods and mosques in the name of celebrating the Ram Temple. As India marks Republic Day, many fear the dawn of a new nation where minorities are made to feel like rubbish. For millions in India, the idea of nation is slipping away fast. Islamabad on Thursday accused longtime rival India of being involved in the killing of 2 Pakistanis in Pakistan last year, a charge New Delhi immediately rejected. Addressing a news conference in the capital Islamabad, Foreign Secretary Cyrus Sajjad Qazi claimed Islamabad had credible evidence that the Indian Intelligence Agency Research and Analysis Wing got 2 Pakistanis killed through its local agents last year. Qazi identified the 2 men killed as Shahid Latif and Muhammad Riaz, who were shot dead in separate incidents last year, adding that the method of the killings was similar to cases in Canada and the United States. Somalia's National Intelligence and Security Agency said on Thursday it killed 30 terrorists in an operation against the Al-Shabaab terror group in the central province of Galgaduud. The spy agency said top Al-Shabaab commanders, including foreign nationalists, were killed in the operation that targeted the town of Galhari and the terrorist stronghold in the central provinces. 20 other terrorists were wounded during the operation that was conducted with support from unarmed international partners, according to NISA. Concerning news in South America now, where the main cause of the unprecedented drought in the Amazon rainforest last year, which led to dried up rivers, essential supply deliveries to river communities, and the deaths of endangered dolphins, was found to be climate change rather than El Niño, according to scientists. A report published by World Weather Attribution, an international group of scientists, revealed that human-induced global warming was depleting water sources, in the largest rainforest in the world, resulting in the deaths of hundreds of endangered dolphins and the isolation of millions of people who depend on the region's waterways for sustenance, transportation, and livelihood. According to scientists, global warming caused by the burning of fossil fuels has made drought 30 times more likely, producing the extreme temperatures that have caused water levels to slump to their lowest point on record. All 9 Amazon rainforest countries, including Brazil, Colombia, Venezuela, and Peru, have been hit by the drought, which is expected to get worse. After the end of the rainy season in May. Scientists have said the drought could worsen forest fires. A piece of news that may interest the elder generation, where a new study indicates that handwriting can enhance brain connectivity, particularly in areas associated with memory formation, spelling accuracy, and conceptual understanding. The findings suggest that the slow process of handwriting allows for more effective processing of information, potentially leading to better learning outcomes. However, while handwriting offers these cognitive benefits, typing is generally more efficient and convenient in many situations. Experts recommend considering the specific task when choosing between handwriting and typing. For tasks that require retention of information, such as note-taking, handwriting may be advantageous, while typing might be more suitable for tasks like essay writing due to its speed and practicality. Despite the convenience of typing, experts stress the importance of maintaining handwriting in educational curricula, highlighting its unique cognitive advantages and the need to preserve this skill in the digital age. We have reached the end of today's Shia Waves show. Let's remind our viewers of today's headlines. Shia Muslims commemorate martyrdom anniversary of Sayyidah Zainab worldwide. More civilian lives lost in conflicts and clashes in African nations. UN chief calls for urgent action to combat terrorism in Africa. Burkina Faso commits apparent war crimes, says HRW. Amazon rainforest sees worst drought ever, study implicates global warming. Handwriting more effective in building brain connections than typing. You can view the latest news on Shia Waves website, and you can send news of your city or country to be published on our news agency. Contact us on the numbers at the bottom of the screen. This is the end of today's news. Thank you for watching. We pray to Allah Almighty to hasten the reappearance of the Master of our time. Wassalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. As we enter the depths of winter, back home in Afghanistan, the temperature is below freezing. Our brothers and sisters are suffering.